let me give two directions to respond to that, agreeing. First is, I wrote the book Unfettered Journey as an entree to a lot of these conversations. I actually wrote something that is the appendice, which consists of 3 deep philosophical papers that explores this, mostly for philosophers because it's a little too rigorous. But one of those papers, the third, argues for a way to think about going from, the bio world that we live in as animals, as conscious organisms, and how did that come about to create consciousness at that level? And I use a tiny worm that has 302 neurons. It's been one of the model organisms studied for many decades.
Yeah.
It's the smallest number of neurons that we can actually study, and ask the question: does it have, what's going on in that little brain? Does it have mentality? Is sort of the first level of the mental, right? And I argue that does have mental. Clearly, it's a long way from consciousness on any kind. But it shares some of the Hox genes with humans. Okay, Hox genes are important in the creation of our brain, right? So there's a direct biological path between this tiny little worm and humans in terms of the mental. So that's one. If someone wants to go very deep, they can look at those 3 papers. In terms of the emergence,
By the way, I'm going to read all 3 of those papers. That sounds super interesting to me.
Okay, yeah. And in terms of emergence and reductionism, I totally agree. Part of the Santa Fe Institute's look at the world as a complex adaptive system. It's reduction doesn't explain it. And let's talk about mentality in a minute, about that reductionism. I use an example in one of the papers, but imagine a hunter with a bow sitting in a tree stand, waiting for a deer, and there's a reason why they're there. They need to eat, and the deer walks by, and they pull back the bow, and they let go. Okay, and now the reductionists might try to explain what the heck happened there in terms of atoms bumping into each other and everything. But we can think of the absurdity of that, because what causes that action to let that bowstring go? It is, a need for food. It's an understanding in that mind about what happens when that arrow is released. And the world of that deer walking down the trail is just the way the world is. It's complex and it's nonlinear, and suddenly they're dying.